everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Life with Patty. So I'm coming to you today with my first time ever book review. I do movie reviews, but I've never done a book review. Let me tell you, I used to read like crazy. I used to read at least a book a week. And the books were like average size, 386 pages were in this one. And I used to read one a week. And maybe every 2 weeks if I slacked off. This book I'm going to review today is Fall from Grace, and it is by Danielle Steel. And let me tell you, it took me forever to read this book. I cannot believe it. Well, I should believe it because I'm always on YouTube watching videos, trying to catch up on everybody's videos, and I just don't take the time to read, and I really, really miss it. I like a nice wintry day. If it's raining outside, I love to just curl up in my chair, turn off the TV and read, or when I go to bed, read at night, whatever. But I haven't been doing that very much. Now, my husband, he's been home now from the hospital for, he came home from the hospital in the end of January, but it has taken him literally until this last month to really get up and be going and driving by himself. He's still on a walker, but he was reading like a book every 3 days. But I mean, he was basically just sitting around all the time, almost bedridden until he got stronger. So he was reading a lot. Anyways, I have more books than I can read in a lifetime, probably. So I'm going to review this book today by Danielle Steel, Fall from Grace, like I said. Now, a lot of people give Danielle a bad rap, and they say, oh, her books are predictable. They're all the same. They're cheesy or whatever. I, for one, enjoy Danielle Steel. I have read her forever, since I started. When my kids were younger, I didn't do a lot of reading. As they got older, I did more reading. I would read in the bathtub when my eyes were good. Now I can't read in the bathtub, it'll fog up. But I would read in the bathtub. I'd read at night after they went to bed. And I've always read Danielle Steel. And I know, I don't even know how many books she has written. I wish they would say how many books she's actually written instead of, millions and millions of her books out on print or whatever. And I have not read them all, but this in this tiny print, those are all the books that she has written. Anyways, this book was a good book. I liked it, like I do most of hers. Every once in a while, she gives me a disappointment. But this book was about a woman that was married to her second husband who had a lot of money. She had 2 daughters that she had from a previous marriage, and he had 2 daughters that were twins from a previous marriage. His daughters hated her, and her daughters loved him, the mother's husband, and they were married for 17 years. He died at a sudden death. I'll let you read it if you want to know all the details, and had never changed his will. They were very wealthy. He was a very, very wealthy man. They lived in a big, huge mansion, and she was a fashion designer. But as soon as she married him, she quit working, and she stayed home with her girls and raised her girls and was a 100% housewife, to her husband and to her girls, and thought life was perfect. Well, after his sudden death, she found out that he did not leave her anything. And she kept saying he just forgot. He didn't have time. He didn't, readjust his will. Well, it left her with nothing. And before she had come along, he had left his home to his twin daughters. And he had left all his money, all his stocks and bonds, everything he owned, he left it to his 2 daughters. And she literally had, I think it was like some crazy amount, like $500 in her checking account. And that's all she had to her name. By this time, both her daughters were grown and out of the house, and they were both fashion designers. They had followed in their mom's footsteps and become fashion designers. And so she was on a plane. Oh, and she owned a house. They had a little apartment in France that they bought together, that he bought, but he put it in her name. And it was their little getaway they would go to. And they lived in New York, but they would go to France just to get away. And so she had this little apartment. It was in her name. So she knew that she had to put it up for sale, even though she didn't want to, because it had so many great memories of her and her husband. But that was the only way she was going to get some money. So she did. And on the way back from Paris, she was in the plane, and a big turmoil happened in the plane, and she met some man that happened to have a fashion industry business. And so he told her, she thought he was just the nicest guy ever. She told him, that she used to be a fashion designer. He said, if you ever need a job, give me a call. Well, her daughters, being in the fashion industry, knew that he was kind of a snake and that he stole replicas of expensive designs and made knockoffs on them. And they had no respect for him. Well, the mother thought, I need a job. And she had to get out of their big, huge mansion within 30 days. And I'm telling you way too much stuff, because if you read it, then you won't be surprised by any of it. But anyways, let me just sum it up, because I don't want to tell you the whole thing. I've been telling you a lot. But she had to move out of her big mansion. She found a small little apartment in New York City that was furnished, which was a far cry from what she was used to. She had to sell her apartment in Paris for some money. She went to work for this man that she met on the plane that her kids knew was a snake, and they tried to warn her, but she's like, I just have to do it. Okay, so then I'm not going to tell you everything, but what I'm going to tell you is it did not work out with the guy that her daughters thought was a snake. And what made it worse was it put her in a really bad situation where she ended up in prison. Well, no, take it back. She didn't end up in prison. She ended up on house arrest for something she didn't do, but he tagged her on it. So that gives you a lot of room to read without me ruining it. But yes, she ends up in house arrest. And her daughters are there for her. Her daughters have lives that switch and change during this whole book. Most of the time, Danielle Steel always has a happy ending. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen, but I have to tell you, in this book, it's a good ending. I have a friend, she loves to read. If it has a bad ending, she doesn't want to read it. I'm like, well, some books are true stories, and, they don't end well. Then she doesn't want to read it. But no, my friend Dawn, she could read this book and not Dawn Sensible Living with my mom, my other friend Dawn that lives in the same town as I do. She could read this book because she likes happy endings. So anyways, I highly recommend this book. So if you like Danielle Steel, or you like an easy read that's just kind of a fluff book, I recommend this book to you. This is not one of her brand new books. This has been out for a while. But I have to say that I really, really enjoy it. And fiction, right? Fiction means not true. So this would be a fiction. Nonfiction means that it is true. And so I'm going to show you what I'm now reading. I just started. I'm only on page 10. But I just started reading The Home for Unwanted Girls. And Kathy and I both bought this book, and we're going to read it together. So Kathy, I'm going to text you actually and tell you that I did start it, because I don't know if you're going to start it or not. But I'm only on page 10. It starts out with that this young girl that's right out of high school or in high school gets pregnant. She has to go live with her aunt and uncle because she's not married. Her parents send her off to live with her aunt and uncle. Her water's broke. She's going into labor. They're taking her to the hospital, but all she can think is that she finally gets to go home because her pregnancy's over and she can go home. Now, it didn't say that was the, how do you pronounce that? I'm bad with this, sorry. The prologue, I don't know how to pronounce it. Prologue. That's what's in there. And now I'm into the first chapter, and she is 14, working in her dad's a store that he owns, a seed store. So they let you know what was happening with her water breaking. I'm assuming it's the same girl. And her water breaking, and she was living with her aunt and uncle because she was pregnant out of wedlock. Now they're taking it back a few years to where she's 14 years old, and she helps her dad on the weekends in his seed store, and how much her dad is so respected in this business and how much she looks up to him because she admires her dad so much, and how she works on the weekends to help him counting and packaging seeds for sale, and how she just loves everything about her dad's business. That's as far as I've gotten with this book. So I will give you a book review when I'm done with this book, and hopefully it doesn't take me as long as it took me to read this book. But I did enjoy this book, and this looks like it's going to be a good book. It looks like it's going to be a depressing book, kind of sad. But I do read a lot of dark books sometimes, so I have a feeling I will like it. I will let you know. Now, if you've stayed with me here for 12 minutes, I'm going to do a secret giveaway, and I'm going to send whoever wins this book. So if you don't want to read this book, don't enter this, this drawing. And in the comments, do not put a hashtag, because then people will just read the hashtags and then just automatically want to just be in the giveaway. So I want this to go to one of my subscribers that really likes to read. Now, you will have this book in there and a few more. I would say probably 7 more books. I'm probably going to send you 8 books. They are going to be used books because I have a lot of used books that I've read once, and then what do you do with them? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to give somebody about 8 of my books. So in the comments below, just tell me what kind of books you like to read. So if somebody that's not really paying attention to the video just wants to see if there's a giveaway and there's not going to know. So tell me, I like reading Danielle Steele. I like reading Nora Roberts. I like reading Stuart Woods. I like reading all these kind. You don't have to give me an author, whatever you like to read. Just tell me in the comments what kind of books you like to read. And with that, I'll put you in the drawing for my secret giveaway for about 8 of my books, okay? So thanks for tuning in. This was my first book review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will let you know how this book goes when I am finished with it. Oh, and this Joanna Goodman, author of The Finishing School. I've never read any of her books, so if I like this book, I probably will get this book. So, all right, you guys, take care. Have a great day, and I'll see you back here real soon. Bye-bye.